All right, here we go. Welcome to the Teaching a Rockstar podcast. What are you laughing at already? We can't even get started with you. All right, on today's show, we have the lovely, the talented, the vivacious, and pretty cool Veronica Triplett. All right, now, some of you know Veronica. You don't know that you know her, but you know her. It's because you've seen the show, man. You've been on the road, and Veronica has been on the road with me, and maybe you have come to an event, and she was there greeting you at the door, getting people signed in. She might have sold you a shirt or two, and she is awesome. She's one of my favorite people on the planet. Now, let me tell you why she's on the show. She's not she's not in the classroom. She's not teaching, but here's what I love, and I think is so valuable for what we do here, is that I think. When you're on the road together, man, you have time to talk and share and, crack jokes. And I do remember some of our conversations, not many, but I remember some revolving around school and her experience. And it's very different than the typical educator experience. And oftentimes as teachers, man, like we all share the same experience where we're in the classroom and we can all remember back and we have these amazing memories of, our mom packing us a lunch and writing a note on the napkin. And, we had a special outfit just for field day that year. And we loved our teachers and things were amazing. And then there was scouting and you were involved in stuff in junior high and you sang in the choir and you're on student council and you're an 8th grade class representative or an athlete. And then you go to high school and it's still amazing. And you're hanging out with people that are just like you, that are loving this whole thing and they're involved, and you think, I'm going to be a teacher, and you go back into the classroom because that's where your fun place was and you loved it. And it's often hard to remember that there are kids out there that is not their experience and is not their reality, and the last thing they would ever consider doing is going back for more of what they went through in school. And I'm not saying that. Listen, man, that might be, honestly, based on what I know, that might be that might be close to half, if not the majority of people, would never consider re-experiencing anything that has to do with formal education in a public school. All right, so that's why we're here. We're going to get to the story. We're going to get to the bottom of it all. Here we go. Teaching a Rockstar podcast. Veronica, get down, Triplett. Let's do this. All right, before we get started, I need a commitment from you. And here it is. Whatever nasty things you want to say about me, whatever just repulsive insults that you're going to say about me, just do it now and get it out of your way, because I know that's one of your favorite things to do in life.
I'm good. I've centered myself. I'm ready.
You're sure? You don't want to call me any names?
No, I'm ready.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
out.
Because I do know, like, even you and Georgia, even you and the wife, when you text back and forth, when you were on the road, you had little code words. Tater tot is in the basket.
She still calls you tater tot.
She does. She refers to me now because of you as tater tot. I don't know. It's insulting. It may be funny. Hey man, go back. Think about all the way back when you were in elementary school. Go back. I want you to go back to when you remember in elementary school. When you can go back in your mind, what was the funnest, most enjoyable, peaceful, loving time that you ever had in school? Is there a time?
That's a good one. I think it is just elementary school. Like, this teacher, Mrs. Wang, she had like she had the best class. It was just like, it was like a family, and it was always fun and all, and everything was really creative. So I guess art classes, like that was always my safe space.
Yeah.
Because it was always the weirdos, and there was always, the teacher was always a little wacky, so I felt a little bit more at home. And then something about any type of creativity. It was the one thing I was really, really good at, so it was where I got all my accolades. So, like, even though, like, the rest of it was shit, like, I would go to art class and I would get, like, first place ribbon.
Yeah.
Except for this one time that this girl, Vanessa, she copied my picture and she got first place, but it was my idea.
Come on. Vanessa did that.
And now I can't stand the name Vanessa. Every time I hear it, I'm like, Vanessa. It's like
So the poor waitress shows up when you're at Applebee's. Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'll be serving you. Oh, you.
Vanessa's just a poor excuse for Veronica.
And that's so funny. It's like the details that people remember from Element. Like, you still remember the girl's name. What was the picture?
It was like Earth Day, and it was two kids on a playground, and they were putting trash from the playground into recycling bins.
Uh huh. And then she stole that
Yeah,
idea
she totally drew the exact same picture. It wasn't even as good as mine.
because that is such an original idea. No one else other than you would ever come up with that. Genius.
I was robbed.
And so you're right, man. There's when I show up at a school, like I'll look out and I can always spot like the one elementary art teacher because they always got that big jewelry on, like big. There's like four big giraffes around their neck on some necklace they picked up on at a
Oh yeah, totally. That's like every art teacher I ever had.
Yeah. All right. So in elementary school, things were good. How?
No,
No.
no, but I had a lot of stuff going on at home. I was in and out of like some like trials and depositions. So school was like it was a safe place, but at the same time, I was really distracted. Like I had to grow up a lot faster than the other kids, so I still felt really disconnected. So
Yeah.
like even though there were periods that were fun, like I could not, I had, it was hard for me to relate. Like
Trials and depositions about what?
I was going through a molestation trial.
And so when you were in third grade, there's Vanessa and her friends are talking about what are you going to bring at the birthday party? We're going to be balloons, and you're thinking about your
Right.
trials and
I'm gonna have to go sit in front of lawyers and talk and like have them treat me like I'm a liar and I'm in second grade,
yeah.
third grade, and go sit in courtrooms and deal with police officers and all of this stuff. And it's a process that took years.
Man, I'm wondering if you even know. Do you think your teachers at the time knew anything about this?
They didn't, and there was a point where my second grade teacher, Mrs. Clark, I'll never forget her. She caught on that something was going on because I was absent. So she called my mom in and was getting on to my mom about always having me out of school and that she shouldn't be doing that. And my mom ended up telling her, and
Yeah.
then the way that she treated me completely changed. And I remember second grade was in Dallas. It was like that was one of the better school years I had because Mrs. Clark was amazing. She really supported me. She didn't make me feel bad because I had to be out of class. She didn't make me feel any different. So every time I would miss 2 or 3 days, the minute I got in, she had all my work ready for me, and she just reintegrated me back into class. So that was probably one of my easiest elementary school years.
Yeah, there's this big thing. There's kind of this wave, this ideology among teachers where, this whole concept is like, don't tell me this kid's background. Like, I want this kid to start with a clean slate in my room. And like, I can see where they're coming from. Maybe it's kid's a behavioral issue, but not for me, man. Like, I want to know the stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because not that I'm gonna treat them. Yes, I'm going to treat them differently. Yes, but not in a bad way. Like I really want to have to know so I can support this kid. Even if this kid was a behavioral problem, I know that's there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And let me explore that. Let me get to know this kid so we can figure out what that motivating, issue is behind those negative emotions that they're displaying in the classroom.
Right, and because she knew, it gave me a sense, like I had a sense of normalcy to my life whenever I was at school.
Did
So
you
it
know she
became,
knew? Did your mom tell you that she told her?
No, I found out whenever we moved to Houston. It was at the end of second grade, and whenever I left, she gave me a big hug and she, wished me luck, and that we had a talk, and she said that she was really sorry I had to go through everything that I did, and she, wished the best for me and everything. And that was the moment that I realized that she knew what was going on.
And that's
Like,
a cool experience because like you knew that she knew and she loved you anyway.
yeah, and it made me feel like I wasn't being supported because I was different. It just made me feel like, she was like just making sure that like, I was continuing to be a part of the class. Because
Yeah.
that was the problem is I felt so different. I needed a place where I didn't feel different. I needed to like feel like I was a part of whatever was going on. That was the same class that Vanessa stole my idea. But it was little things like that. Like those are the things that I needed in like at that point in my childhood, just to feel normal for a second. And it was when I walked into the classroom and I was around all the other kids, and I was able to do my work and make
Yeah.
art. And.
And because, like going home, man, like even if there was not a mention of what was happening in your life in the courtroom and all that, it was still in the air. It was still in the vibe. We could feel it in the room.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. But so that classroom became, I love the fact you were the family because we talk about that all the time. Like that is the point of the classroom. Like we really can create that. And I know people think, because if I had, I've had really unique experiences in the classroom, whether, I was doing PALS and team leadership and these kind of mentoring programs or as a band director, but man, it can happen in any classroom, whether it's art or physics, it really doesn't matter. You really, and that's the thing, man, those kids crave it. Because what I always say, like, you obviously had some extreme circumstances, but there's other kids without those extreme. They live in a looks like a normal house with normal parents, but you know what? That doesn't mean they're not being ignored.
Yeah, or they don't have support, or they
Yeah,
like,
no one's
something's
talking
going
to
on and
them.
they don't have coping skills.
Yeah. And so that with all that of your life, with the court and the depositions and the trials, how long did that last? Did that go on for a couple of years, or was it months, or what?
It was a couple years because we went to trial and couldn't do trial, so we had to go to a civil suit, and then the civil suit was really horrible. And then we lost because he had a lot of money and really powerful lawyers, and he was a pillar of the community and everything. So then we're in Houston and living in poverty and recovering from, you know, it's pretty much defeat. Like you've spent, these 2 years of your life trying to do this thing, and then it doesn't work out. I mean, we got one person in jail, but then the main person,
Yeah. So it's all the time, all the emotion, and all the money.
And then my mom is gone. Like she has to work.
Yeah.
Like she's totally gone. So we're super young and we're alone.
Who's,
And
who's we?
me and my brother.
Okay, so you guys are alone
Right.
here in Houston. New house, new friends, new everything, new world, new school,
Right.
new teachers,
And
trying to get it all together.
and we went from living in relatively comfortably to living in absolute poverty. And then still having to act like everything's fine and normal because it's not something you tell. You don't walk into school and you're like, "Hey guys,
We just lost a suit. We lost
Right.
everything. We're living in
Lost
poverty.
a molestation suit, living in poverty, no big deal, broken family."
What's for lunch?
Yeah, free lunch.
Right,
It's
yeah.
gonna be great.
Yeah. And so at this age, is this still elementary school?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so what grade did you move from Dallas to Houston?
I started third grade here in Houston.
All right. So did you guys move to get away from it all, or what? What was the deal? Or just because of poor? Or,
I think that it was to get away from it all. I think my mom got a job
Yeah.
here.
and when you guys moved here, did you and you're in poverty? I always I see these people on TV talk about them, and man, we didn't even know we were poor, and but you knew it, like
Oh no, we knew we were poor.
yeah,
Yeah, this is like cockroaches crawling over you at night, and like it was like
yeah.
really bad.
And the new school that you went to were like demographically, in terms of the families and the community, was it like where you're going, Dallas, or was it like a whole different population?
Um, it was actually a nice school. It
Wow.
was in Spring, so it was when Spring had like A-rated schools.
Yeah, yeah. This is back in what, 90s, 80s, 90s.
90s.
Yeah, 90s. And so it's in Spring, and it's in the 90s, and Spring, Texas. And when you show up for school, man, I can't even imagine. Like, because it's like, there's this vision. I remember when we were traveling one time, and there's a kid, and the parents are waiting in line for the ticket and to check the baggage at the airport. And there's this kid, and it's a little girl, and she wants to move the bags by herself. And I still have this vision in my mind because it was such a metaphor for kids going to school. Like there's maybe 4 or 5 suitcases, and she has backpacks hanging her, and she's probably 8, and she's trying to manage it. And like, that's exactly what so many kids are in school. You just can't see the baggage. Like, just so much stuff they're carrying to school, and we just can't see it. And like, that's what you have going on. You're showing up at school, and like, they can't see all that you're dealing with, and you're just keeping it inside. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's where the bullying comes in. It's like I'm totally different. Like
Yeah.
I'm not wearing. I'm wearing like thrift store clothes that don't match because like no one's dressing me in the morning. And like the the kids are horrible around like I feel like there was a shift. Like second grade was great, and then third grade was it was miserable, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. Like,
All right. So, man, there's something about this, and it's some weird kind of, I don't know what part of the psychology where this in lies in human nature, but it's almost as if at that age is like kids can sniff out the victim. Like and it's true at the time. Like you've already been a victim,
yeah,
and they can see something's amiss, like something's wrong, and just the posture and everything, because you feel defeated, you've been violated, you've been hurt and crushed, and people didn't believe you, and it's almost thinking like that's the one we're gonna pick on.
yeah, and then they just hook in, and then it's just like this like mob mentality. Like you just become like the other, and then you're like the perfect punching bag for everything.
Yeah. What was it like what kind of stuff? What did they say? What were they doing?
Well, there was the fat stuff, like girls got so many biscuits, they just want to butter them. Like at the time, like now I think of that statement and it's like it doesn't even make any sense. But whenever I was a kid, it was just like it was horrible. And like fatty and like you got holes in your shoes and got all kinds of stuff. It was I'm just trying to remember like some of it. Like I just remember like the general impression of it was just like, just a constant barrage of like of insults. It's like people couldn't communicate on like a level where you're a human being. It was, it was always like structured around this like how can I build this up so that I can break her down?
Yeah.
And then look really cool with all, in front of all of my friends. And
True.
I wore a key around my neck because, that was the key to the house because my mom wasn't home whenever I would get home and they'd make fun of that. It's like I got my jewelry on and
Yeah. It's completely ridiculous, right?
yeah.
Looking back, but at the time, like I think sometimes like that's the thing. Like we forget about where that kid is in the child's mind, because like right now, most adults like I can't be bullied, like right now.
Yeah,
There's no way. Because I just don't care enough.
Yeah.
Like I respect, like because for me to care what you think, like I first have to know you, then I have to like you, then I have to respect you. I mean, it's a long way to go. So they can say the most horrible thing about me, and I promise you, it wouldn't even affect me in the tiniest bit. But as a child, everything affects you.
Well, and that's what I think about is so funny about being an adult now is that, like whenever I look back on all this stuff, I mean, yeah, sure. I wish that I could have had a really great childhood, but I look at the adult that I've become, and
Yeah.
it really takes a lot at this point to like make me sideways. I'm like, you can do like really, you can call me whatever you want, and I'm gonna be like, whatever. That's totally fine. You really are living a dark life. I'm sorry for you.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have been that way if I hadn't gone through all of that stuff. Like I don't think that I'd be be able to cope with life the way that I do now if I hadn't had such a horrifying childhood.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it really puts things in a crazy perspective.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
that.
and I had a good therapist too, so that like really that has helped along the way. Like I didn't get dumped into adulthood with no like coping skills.
Yeah. Did you now when you were in elementary school, were you receiving any kind of psychological services? Did the school have counselors meeting with you or anything going on?
I didn't have a school counselor, but I got I don't know what it is, like a subsidized counselor through the state, and I got the most amazing counselor. She was so cool, Susan Brown, and she was incredible. I saw her once a week, and she's like the whole reason that I'm sane,
Really?
sane-ish.
Yeah.
She was the best.
Do you still keep in touch with her?
No, but I think about her every once in a while.
I wonder if there's a way we could find her. That'd be cool.
I wonder if that is. I should look her up. I guess I haven't thought about it.
Because like that's the whole thing of those people that like those people that do that work where she could go into private practice and make $250 an hour, but there she is going to your Roach Motel in Spring to a kid in poverty because she really wants to make a difference,
Yeah.
and I know she knows, but there's something about being affirmed and hearing it verbally from the person. It's a life changer, man.
Yeah, she totally changed my life. I don't think that I would have made it through childhood without her. She was great.
Would she come to your house or did they pull you out of class in school?
We would go once a week to her office.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
We'd get a donut which was the best thing ever. And
Yeah.
then we go to her office, and her favorite flower was brown Susans, and they grew outside of her office, and she was Susan Brown. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, it's so magical.
Yeah, right. Flower named after her. That's awesome. And so if I know anything about kids, when things leave from third grade to fourth to fifth, things are getting intense in terms of bullying in fifth, and then the junior high, it's out of control. Did it progress the whole way through?
Yeah, and there was a marked drop in my grades too. I was like straight A's, honor roll, everything, and then middle school started and the bullying accelerated.
Yeah.
It got really bad, and that's when things started to drop off. And then I just stopped caring. Like
Yeah.
before, I was like really excited about reading, and it was like really excited about about learning. And then there was a point where it was just so awful that I was just like, okay, I have completely just checked out.
Yep. And then, and when you say and this is also in spring,
Hmm.
and and things are getting worse. And here's, I'm always wondering, do you think that those educators and administrators in that school, looking back, I know it's hard because in sixth grade, it's hard to wrap your head around but like, do you think they knew? Like, do you think,
No, the only person who knew was my art teacher, and she would let me stay after school and like just work on projects until she had to go home. So it
yeah,
was like she was the only person who kind of like she didn't really know exactly what was going on, but I think she had a sense that like I was having a really hard time and did not want to go home, and like there was nothing at home, so she would just let me hang out and like work on my like clay project or whatever. And
hmm,
she eventually like gave me a key so I could like lock up and leave whenever I was
lock the
done.
school. Here's a code to the alarm. Help yourself. There's, yeah. And so then when you're saying things were horrible and got worse in junior high, like what was happening? Like what kind of bullying? Still the name calling and all that stuff.
Yeah, is name calling is mostly around like weight and the way I dressed.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man, because when you live in poverty, like however you dress, that's just what you have.
Yeah.
And also the weight issue, that's a huge part of poverty because the food that is available at that price, that's what happens.
And I was, that was the only pleasure really that I had at home. So like food is a coping mechanism. And then there's like no one to tell, like no one is explaining to me that like, I need to exercise or, get out. And then on top, I'm depressed. So I don't want to go outside. I just want to like
Yeah.
sit on the couch and watch TV, because I mean, there's just like life doesn't have a lot of sparkle to it. It's not this magical, enchanted childhood place. Like,
Yeah.
it's it's a really dark place.
Did you have friends?
Um, yeah, I had some friends, not a lot. I think high school is when I really started to get some good friends. I think I had maybe like two or three.
In junior high?
Yeah.
And do you think that they were also were they also kids like in your same circumstances, having a hard time financially and
No, I think it was just like like kind of the awkward weirdos,
yeah,
like you know, kind of nerdy.
hmm, I get it. And then did you have outside of the art teacher? Looking back, do you think that she came to you, or did you kind of go to her? Like who initiated that relationship, where she was going to serve as kind of the safe space and protect her? And
She did. She was like this like ultimate mom figure. She just kind of like there was probably like four of us that she really just kind of like looked after and kind of took care of,
her
She was just
ducklings.
like really loving,
Yeah,
but not in a way where it felt like, looking back on it, I don't feel like she was like really going too far out of her way. It was just in the way that like she like spoke to us and like kind of checked in and then did the little things like, let a couple of us like kind of like hang a little longer in the evening and stuff as long as, we were it was kind of one of those things where we were really respectful of her space. Like we were in the office like in her business, like interrupting her or anything.
yeah.
It was more like she was just holding space for us.
I think that's one of the things we always talk about is we have this concept, man. If I'm really going to help this kid and mentor this kid and change this kid's life, it takes some sort of monumental effort and this really intense, thought out strategic plan. When really, it's just doing a couple nice things consistently.
Yeah. She was, I will never forget her for that reason. Like she was there without like,
Just there.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that like that is just a huge part of it, just providing a space for a kid that has nothing and nowhere and no one. And then at home, I mean, what was happening there with your mom? She's still grinding it out, trying to make money and working and
yeah, just
trying to put the family back together.
working a ton, just like,
Hmm.
and looking back on it, I can totally understand like to pay the bills, like she had to work. So,
Yeah.
and to work, you aren't at home.
Yeah. And at the time, I know she's had a few different careers. But what was her kind of line of work at this point?
Labor, salesperson,
Yeah, just
like
kind of doing retail.
industrial labor.
Hmm. Yeah. And so was she participating at this point? Was she able to participate in your education? Was she doing the open house and meeting teachers and checking in and
Oh no.
none of that? Just
No,
just time
she didn't
available.
go to plays. Like she didn't meet with teachers. She had like zero time for it.
Yeah.
Like she would show up if I had really gotten in trouble and missed too much school
Mm.
to like kind of calm things down so that I guess you get a fine or something. You get in trouble if
Yep.
your kid's truant. So then she'd be like, "Oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble." So she'd go
Right.
fix it. But
Yeah. And your art teacher, and one thing we'll get to, we haven't talked about it yet, but like you've had some success in the art world and celebrated. And do any of your art teachers from school know about that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Huh.
It's interesting to talk to you because I haven't really tried to contact any of them. You know, I think about them every so often, but I've never tried to like find one of them.
Yeah. Man, when I listen, I talk to thousands of teachers every year, and when we're hanging out, chatting in the hallway or having coffee or whatever, like at the break, and like they want to share a story, 9 times out of 10, it's a story about a student that contacted them. And and which is interesting because like in their real life, like in their current life, their present life, there's magical, amazing shit happening constantly. But the ones that really matter is for some reason it's 20 years later and a kid friended me up on Facebook and sent me this paragraph, and now they have a screenshot of it and they read it to me. And I think what that is, man, it's like in this teaching business there's really no evidence that it's working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we have all the data and we can see test scores. But deep down inside, no teacher really cares about, like, yeah, we want the kid to know science. Yeah, for sure. We want the kid to pass the end of course exam. We want the kid to do great on the STAR test, whatever. And we can see that data, but that's not really why we're there. We're there to make an impact and change that kid's life. And there's no data for that.
I think a lot about that. All the shows I've sat through, that the chart
Sat through.
suffered through. The chart that you have, where you're talking about, like it's not about the change at that moment. It's about the incremental change over time
Yeah, that
from that
10%.
one thing.
Yeah.
And whenever I think about these people and the influence that they've had on my life, I didn't see it at the time and I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I just knew that, like they were providing me like what I needed to just survive at the time.
Right.
But over the course of years, the influence of that it's huge. It's a monumental influence on my life. Like the person that I am today is directly shaped by these tiny actions from these people at that time whenever I needed it the most. They did not know they didn't know what they were doing for me, but like now whenever I think back, like there were a lot of times that, like I was suicidal or like I was having the worst day of my life and just, being able to like hang out after class and work on my stupid horse sculpture for 45 minutes and not have to go home. Like that was enough to like get me through one more day.
Yep.
And just surviving that time in my life, now I get to enjoy this incredible adulthood that's super fun and I have tons of friends and I've done a zillion things,
Yeah.
But it was just surviving that like gap where I was, a really like I was struggling, like this kid that was struggling and just trying to make it through.
That's the thing. Like you're right. It's not even. It's not that it's noticeable. It's imperceptible. Like you can't even notice it because it's so minuscule in the grand scheme of the day. Where it could be a conversation. It could be a look that you give a kid. It could be 45 minutes. Yes, I got work to do. Go do your horse sculpture. Whatever. What do I care?
Yeah, totally.
It seems like nothing. But that's the deal because, like, so that now what we talk about is like now that kid is on a different trajectory, and we've steepened the trajectory. It's imperceptible. You can't even, you don't even, it won't even show up on a microscope, man. But that's the thing. Here we are, 20 years later, 25 years, and this kid is in a whole different universe because that tiniest thing that was unnoticeable. It's amazing. And like that's why it's so important that I think if everybody could just do that, just one, go through a list of teachers, find one, and send them a note. They're out there, maybe not teaching anymore, maybe working at the library or something, but they're out there, and just let them know because it makes the whole career worthwhile. And they think I didn't even know. And what that does, it expands the possibility of the rest of the kids. This is just one that I didn't even know happened. That could happen with lots more, and it did.
Yeah, there's probably thousands of kids who are just like me who to think about their teachers all the time, but like
Yeah,
haven't reached out.
yeah. And so when you went to you were in junior high and went to academically, this is where things were falling apart. You're just getting by.
Yeah,
You weren't trying.
no,
But you were passing classes simply because you're smart enough to sit there and get a 70.
right. I was still making A's and no, I wasn't making 70s. I was making A's and B's.
Oh, really?
But I just wasn't trying.
Okay. Man, that's awesome. I was really trying to make it 70s. All right, and so you got to high school, and then and things you get. I got a few thousand people in the same building. There's going to be other kids like you where you can connect with and find each other, hanging out by themselves in the corner.
No, it was still really lonely. High school.
Really?
Yeah, I had more friends, but it was definitely still the school.
Still in spring.
Yeah, it was still in spring.
So it's a big, at this point, it's like it's big football things are happening, cheerleaders and band and drill team and all that. Pep rally on Friday and homecoming dances, all that's going on. Are you doing any of that?
No, I didn't go to any of the dances or any. I didn't really do anything. I mostly just like took a ton of art classes.
Yeah.
And really got into FFA for a little while. But then my home life was really falling apart. My mom had gotten into a relationship and it was really abusive, so it got harder and harder to arrange to like take care of my animal, and that eventually that fell apart. And then the teacher embarrassed me in front of the whole class and called me out for what was going on.
Yeah.
Like with the animal, but didn't take the time to ask me if everything was okay. Instead, he killed one of my chickens in front of class and then called me out for the condition of the chicken. And it was like, I didn't want to tell him,
Yeah.
hey, like, I can't find anyone to drive me over to take care of this chicken.
Right.
I want to take care of the chicken. I don't like, I'm just really alone right now. And I have no,
Yep.
I have no support on this. Like, and thanks for killing my chicken.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a really very surreal, but,
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it?
that was the end of my FFA.
That's that's the thing of it's so hard to remember. I can remember like there's so many programs in place where a kid will get in trouble. Like I can remember even when my kid was taking lessons, he if you were late for class, you couldn't join class. Mm-hmm. Guess what? The only reason my kid would ever be late for class is because of me or my wife.
Yeah.
We're his transportation. So why does he? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're teaching him responsibility. And I think that and even at the high school, that oftentimes that's the case. We think we're teaching the kid, they need to be called out so they can learn the importance of responsibility, not neglecting. Hey man, I have every intention. I want to be responsible.
Right. I want to be in this. It's fun, but I'm having a really hard time. I just can't.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that happened, and then did that experience pretty much end the whole FFA?
I stopped showing up to class. I started spending class in the bathroom, and then I started getting in trouble for not showing up to class. So they started giving me extension center. Mm-hmm. So I was spending my days in extension center. It was really funny because
what was that, like an in-school suspension type of thing?
Yeah, where you have to do class in a room with a bunch of people who are gangbangers, and then there's me I'm a really, really nice person.
Yeah.
I'm a good student at heart, you know, and I am spending my days in extension center eating out of a lunch out of a paper bag, if I remembered my 75 cents, and having to ask permission to go to the bathroom. And they would do the prison march to the bathroom, and
Yeah.
they would watch you when you went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It was so crazy. I was like, I will never forget that experience of being in. I'm like, day in and day out reporting to this like cement cell, and you're not, you know, like 24-hour confinement. Like you're not allowed out of the room at all during the
Right.
school day at all.
No talking, total silence.
Yeah.
No communication.
And then I got out of EC and was allowed to start going back to class. And then I was really depressed, so I was having a problem in the middle of the day. Like I couldn't stay awake, so I kept falling asleep in this in my geometry class. And this teacher was so mean. Like she would come over and like hold my head up and like tell the class that I was an example of somebody who like couldn't keep, you know, who was lazy and disrespectful. And then I was just like, I can't physically stay awake. I'm like a narcoleptic in this class. I could not stay
Yeah.
awake, you know? And it was a symptom of being so depressed. I didn't know at the time what was going on,
Sure.
but it ended up, that's what it was. And then because she kept like calling me out and embarrassing me in front of the whole class, then I stopped going to that class. I started spending that class in the bathroom. And then FFA class got weird, and I started spending that class in the bathroom. That compounded, and then I ended up just like being an EC again.
Yeah.
And you know, it was just like this crazy chain reaction. You
It's called back in the system. You're in
know,
your recidivism rate.
it was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God, high school was the worst. I would go back and do a middle school over and over and over again. High school was, oh my God, miserable.
And so when you're waking up in the morning and you're thinking, here we go, I got bathroom you know, like the worst thing had happened, you get caught and I have to go back to the solitary confinement.
Well, I just started showing up late to class. Like
Yeah.
I would come in, I would miss my morning classes, show up for art, and do all of my art classes. And there was I think history and English. English was amazing. I really loved English. So I'd show up for English too. And then I'd leave.
Where'd you go? Just walk?
I had a car.
Yeah.
I would like sneak out to the parking lot and wait for the security guard to do the round, and then I'd escape, go to Taco Bell.
This is your day.
Yeah, and then I figured out there was a convenience store that would sell me cigarettes, so I'd just like hang out at Taco Bell and smoke cigarettes.
Phew, man.
That was horrible.
Yeah. And this is I'm thinking this is back in the days where did attendance matter all that much back then? Like now, like if you miss 6 classes or something, you can't pass the class, or did you have to make up hours? How were you doing that?
I had to go to summer school and make up hours at HCC. Wait, no, it wasn't. Oh, it was the HCC extension. It was at I think Northline Mall,
Yep, I remember.
and I was in there with all the pregnant girls, and you know,
And you,
and me.
Taco Bell
Like
smoking.
still an out, like that's the theme of it is always feeling like an outsider, you know, and like still an out. You'd think that these would be my people, you know, because I'm a bad kid.
Yeah,
These are not my people, you know.
yeah. And so this is rough, man. And as you're going through high school, at any point, are you thinking about how do you get that GED thing?
I did, but there was a moment, and I got a letter from a school in Alaska that said the whales of Sitka Sound were calling me.
The whales?
The whales of Sitka Sound were calling me, and it was the furthest away I could get from Houston and still be in the U.S. And it was cold,
Yeah.
and I was like, "That's it."
Hold on. So how old? Like, what grade are you in at this point?
It was it junior?
All right. So you're in your junior year, somewhere about there, and out of nowhere, and you start getting mail from schools, right?
Yeah.
Like we all, like kids do, because you're on the list, and you get a letter from a school in Alaska. And tells you Veronica, the reason we're calling you is because we keep hearing the name Veronica coming from the whales out in the Sitka Sound.
Like, Veronica, come to us.
And so you believe in, well, okay. Well, then, all right, the whales want me.
It was like this eureka moment because it was this life that was so opposite from the life that I was leading. Because I
Yeah.
feel like I was living my life through other people, through the TV. Like I was living my life on the couch, and I wanted a radical life change. I wanted to live this life that I felt like, you know, that I deserved. Like
Yeah.
that I wanted something radically different from what I had been living. Because it was like this life was not me. It wasn't my life. This life that I was living whenever I was in high school and middle school. Like it was something that was forced on me. This all of this was just forced on me. Like I was just surviving it. And
Yeah.
I felt like that was like the beacon of hope. Like that was where I could go and like just go like change everything, and find my people and like find like what just find some joy, like just get away from everything that was traumatic
Yep.
and just start over.
Yeah. And so in your mind, the ticket to Alaska was a high school diploma.
Yeah. I had to get because they didn't take SAT scores, so I knew I was cool. I just needed a high school diploma.
Right.
It was like I just got to get there. It wasn't a super expensive school. It was like I could make this happen. And then like I like kind of like shambled everything together and figured out what I had to do. And then right at the very end, I almost quit. And my mom, in her one shining moment, grabbed me and sat me down, and she was like, "You are going to graduate, Veronica. I don't care what you have to do. You're going to go to summer school. You're going to get out. You're going to get that degree."
This is it. Your mom moment.
It totally worked.
Yeah. And so, and you figured out, and at this point, man, I'm wondering, once you got that letter and you had this vision of Alaska and the whales talking to you and you're going to go up there, did you feel like there was a sense of purpose, and like, did you feel motivated at this point? Like you had some drive, or you just,
Yeah, there was something to look forward to that wasn't
all right.
my day to day. So it like whenever I was at school, I wasn't thinking about how much it sucked or like this guy's being mean to me, or my friends are awful or whatever. I was thinking about,
Right.
you know, if I can make it through today and tomorrow and the day after, I get to go to this magical land and live as a wilderness woman.
Got it.
Like it gave me a goal. It's the same thing now. Like I always have like something really cool and fun planned in the not so distant future. So no matter how crappy the day is, I'm like, I can just like 2 more weeks and like,
Yeah.
kayaking or.
All right. So you get you go to, you somehow graduate.
I did, by the skin of my teeth. I didn't walk with my class or anything. I graduated quietly at the Northline Mall.
Among the pregnant
Summer
girls.
Extension Center, yes.
You and the the recent moms.
Yeah, surrounded by, my people.
And so, and did you have money to get to Alaska at this point? Were you working? What are you doing?
I was working at PetSmart as a dog bather.
All right.
And I flew standby up there, which took a while.
Yeah. Did you, and you just like took a suitcase?
Yeah, I think I just had a big suitcase.
And you're flying to Alaska as an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, was ready.
And so you somehow did you get a loan, or how are you going to pay for school?
Yeah, we got loans and the government grant.
Okay, cool. All right, and so you fly to Alaska and you get off the plane, and it's Alaska. And how do you even navigate your life? Do you get a cab? How do you find out? How do you get to
It's
this?
an island, so
Wait a minute. It's not even Alaska. It's an
It's-
island off of Alaska.
it's Southeast Alaska, yeah.
All right.
Sitka, Alaska. So, I mean, you just catch a cab or no, they had a bus for the new students. So they just like not a bus, it was like a van. Came and picked you up.
All right, and so you go to school and you're living in Alaska, and this is the craziest part. Because you're from Spring, Texas, outside of Houston, and you graduate from the Northline Mall. And now you're in Alaska months later.
Here's the best part, though, is that I walk in and the whole school is like 300 kids. They're all like me. Every single one of them has come there from some weird place because they wanted to get as far away from wherever they were.
Their
coming
life
from.
was, right.
Yeah.
What a genius marketing plan. They're just finding weirdos and send them letters around the nation.
Right.
And they all congregate together on an island.
Those alienated,
Right.
saddest weirdos, and let's just
Can you imagine the people of Sitka, Alaska, probably sitting in their lawn chair waiting for the bus to go by? Look at that one. No,
Oh no, yeah, it was
it was
the
clear
town.
who students were.
Yeah, we had a float in one of the parades, and it was like a Sitka Day parade, and they misspelled education on the float.
Nice.
It was I was not involved in the writing of the
Uh,
thing, but it was
at this point, did you declare a major? Were you majoring in something, or just going to taking classes?
outdoor recreation.
Of course you were. That's so good. So yeah, so you can just run a playground or whatever you're gonna do. Okay, and were you working?
No,
All right, so you're just going to school and having a blast.
it was great.
And was this the first time in your life you're like, oh my God, this is so good?
Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
It's a whole different, like this is a whole different life.
Yeah.
How long did it take from when you arrived in Alaska to know that your life has completely changed? It's a whole different place. You can be you.
Oh, I didn't even have to get to Alaska. It was the moment that I walked into the airport and I was leaving.
Really?
Because I didn't even care about school at that point. I was so excited to like leave and
Just
start
like a
a new
sense
life.
of euphoria to get out of
Yeah.
here.
Like even if I failed at school, like just being away, like
Yeah.
I was like, this is gonna be amazing. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Did people know you're going to go, like when back at school, classmates or teachers, did they know you're going to Alaska or you just keep it on the down low?
No, they knew, and everyone thought I was crazy.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I was
knew
like,
it.
oh, it's the right decision.
Yeah, perfect then. Where are you going? Great, I'm going to Alaska. You guys go there.
It's really far away. Don't visit me. It'll be okay.
Yeah, and you get there, and it's now you're there in the fall,
Yeah,
and it's beautiful.
yeah.
You've never seen anything like. Have you ever
No.
traveled when you were a kid? Did you guys travel and go on trips to Alaska, Colorado, those places?
No.
So you're just blown away just by the nature of it all.
Yeah. Like there's like
Stunning.
the salmon are running and
Yeah.
there's like a million bald eagles and you go to the grocery store and there's like there'll be like a killer whale swimming by and it's like no big deal. You're just like pushing your cart out to your car.
Yeah.
It was like so wild.
And then job. What did you tell me? Did you have a job at this point?
No, I didn't have a
Just
job
doing
at that
class.
time.
And then now how long did you go to school there?
I was there for 3 years.
3 years, and just going to school full time, living off the grant money and tuition and all
Yeah,
those
and at that
loans.
time and my mom had started a company at that time, so there was a little more money. So she was
All right, so your mom at this point figured it out financially with her work,
yeah.
and she wasn't in retail or laboring or anything like that. Now she's got her own business happening, and it's working.
Right. So she was able to like, wasn't a ton of money, but it was enough to like be able to like
Yeah,
relax and
yeah.
just enjoy being in school.
Having a mom whose love language is sending you money, I'm down with that.
I was pretty okay with
I'm
it.
okay.
So.
Yeah, and then you're in your third year up there, and what? Did something change? You want to come home? You get homesick? You were just done?
No, seasonal affective disorder. The darkness is really
Say it again. Seasonal what?
seasonal affective disorder because it gets so dark.
This is something you just came up with right now?
No, it's a real thing. It's
That's
called
not a
SAD. It's the acronym for it because you get, like your body can't your body has a really hard time with the darkness because it can't get enough vitamin D and
I think
your
I have heard
circadian-
about this.
Your circadian rhythm gets really crazy. And,
Yeah.
I was still dealing with like off and on dealing with depression and the darkness made it a lot worse. And it was the third year was the year that it really hit me, and I was like I just could not make it through the winter because it was messing with the way that I was sleeping. Like I was basically hibernating. It was really crazy.
I've also heard something about, watching one of those cop shows or game warden shows, something about like the problem they have with alcohol during those times.
Yeah.
Because people are just trying to drink it away.
Yeah, people just kind of some people like love it. They don't care. Like they're just not affected by it. But I think living in Texas, you're just so used to sunshine all the time. Whenever I got up there, like the excitement of being there carried me through 2 years, and then the third year was my body was
For
like
real now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My body was like, "Oh, that full spectrum light you bought's cute."
That's funny. All right. And then some of your favorite, like looking back on it, like I'm just thinking there had to be some amazing experiences you could not have got anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was scuba diving and fly fishing and sea kayaking and backpacking. And I got a key to the art room, so we'd stay up until like 6 in the morning making art.
You're still doing art at this point.
Yeah.
And even though that's not your major, but you love
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep an art on the side.
Right.
Uh-huh. And then after 3 years, you come back here. And then, and
Oh
here's,
no, I didn't come back here.
where'd you go after 3 years?
I went to California.
Why?
Oh, it was the dark ages. I met this guy and it was my first love, and
Oh, followed a guy.
oh, it was horrible. He ended up shooting his wife. He was a bad, bad boyfriend.
Yeah, but at this point, let me ask you this, man: am I too far off in saying that because of your childhood and lack of friends and the bullying, that any relationship at all at this point, that somebody even seemed to care about you, want to be in a relationship, like you'll overlook a ton of stuff.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I consider this the like the second dark ages where I was I processed through my childhood stuff, and then I had to deal with the adult stuff.
Yeah,
That comes along, like the euphoria of freedom had worn off, and then I was like going back into repeating the patterns of my family. So I had to go through. It was like 3 years
yeah,
of going to a really dark place and then coming back out of it. And
yeah. He wasn't cool,
no, he's really horrible.
and he's in jail now. He's in prison
Yeah.
forever, I guess. And
Yeah, probably. They might kill him. He might get the death penalty.
do you still follow the whole thing?
I've looked up some articles, but they haven't really updated it
Yeah.
since his police standoff. And
Since the stand, it's not funny.
it's not funny at all. It's horrible. I didn't know until a private investigator called me.
For he working for.
For him, they were looking for people to testify on his behalf, but she didn't tell me until after she had asked me all these questions, and I had nothing good to say about him. And she's like, "Well, do you know anybody that?" She listed off this list that he had given her, and it was
Right.
like I was like, "No, that guy wants to kill him.
Right.
No, he stole things from that guy. Like no, probably not that guy."
Oh my God! So you go to California. Are you doing art at this point? Just hanging out. What are you doing?
I'm going to Diablo Valley Community College and doing a lot of art.
Yeah. All right. Now here's what's interesting is that like you have this crazy childhood and I don't want to say untraditional school experience because it's not far from a lot of kids, man. I think you have some extreme circumstances that some kids don't have, but for a lot of kids, they're miserable and they don't like it and they feel out of place and they don't want to be at the pep rally and I don't want to wear a matching shirt with you. It's that kid and but what is bizarre is how you've created this unbelievable, rich, full life, full of just interesting people and trips and places, and what some people might consider once in a lifetime experiences. You make that shit happen regularly.
Well, I think it's because my childhood was so like just like so contained and so dark. Like isn't now that I have freedom and like financial freedom, like my own money, it's like, every time I don't know, like now I define my life by how much I can fit into it, And I think because like all the worst things have already happened to me, I don't have any fear. Like I'm not worried about losing everything or I'm not worried about having to start over again. Like if I decide to do something crazy and it leads to like the demise of my business and I lose my house, like in my mind, it's not the end. I'm like, oh, well, if
What's
that
next?
happens, then like, maybe I start a new career and like maybe I could move to, like move to another city and like get a better house, that like things don't feel like
Yeah.
they're going to be too bad because I've already lived the worst. So, I mean, it can't be any worse than that. And I survived that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a whole different perspective, man. I think it's hard for people to get that. Just not that they've had lived a privileged or sheltered life. I think it's just this. When they had supportive people who cared about them and provided this path for them, they just stayed on the path.
Yeah.
And now they went through school, they went through college, and they got a job like they were told to do. And that's why I think we'll find people in like this career they absolutely hate and they're miserable every day and they can't believe they have to sit in traffic in an hour and a half commute both ways, and they tolerate it and put up with it because they're terrified of what could happen if they lost it.
Yeah.
We're like, you don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. Because I mean, like now I'm working I have the best career ever. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I just stumbled into it. Like because I like lost my job and like I didn't know what to do, and I needed a career, and I couldn't work like gig jobs
Yeah.
anymore. And now it's just the best. It's just and it's because I had some failures.
Yeah. That, man, we were just talking about that the other day, man. Like the importance of the failure.
Yeah.
And important of the uncomfortable part of life. That's critical for ultimate happiness and success.
Yeah.
Like the ultimate happiness and success lies on the other side of the failure and the uncomfortable and all that stuff that just sucks. And oftentimes, man, when we stay on that path, you never veer off and find the uncomfortable parts, and you're just living the mediocre, miserable, tolerating life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, some of your. Let me ask you this, because I can't even remember. How did we originally meet?
Oh, because you put a posting on Facebook because y'all needed a man who could lift 500 pounds and
It was actually 50.
50 pounds or whatever,
Yeah.
and had experience with like being an assistant or traveling on the
Travel.
road. And I'm like, I travel all the time, and I can like press 620 pounds.
Pick up that dude. I'll pick up your little man if I need to. I'll put him in the overhead. Right.
That's right. I'll be your nanny.
And so you saw a post on the Facebooks or something. Is that what it was? And
yeah.
did you call Georgia, or is it? Or did you? I didn't know.
I Facebook Georgia.
I don't even know how this works. And so,
Oh, Mandy is the one who told me that Georgia had posted.
Mandylicious.
Yeah.
And then you know who was with me? Was it Matthew with me at the time?
Yeah.
Matthew Krejci.
Yeah.
And did you know Matthew?
Yeah, I had to go out on one trip with him.
But did you know him before you met him?
Oh, no, I didn't know.
Because everywhere I went with that guy, everyone knows that dude. And so you show up at a gig. Okay, all right, I remember you. It was one here in Houston, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
All right, it was here in Houston, and you show up just to see if you could tolerate me, and basically is what that was.
Yeah.
And then I remember within a few minutes you insulted me probably 6 or 7 times and made fun of me, and I thought, well, I think it's gonna work.
Well, and the important part was actually like whether or not I could follow all of Georgia's instructions.
All right.
And I did. It was perfect.
So what people don't know is going on the road. There's a manual on how to nanny me. It's long.
It's how to keep Hal alive.
Yeah, it's long. It's probably 20 pages. 30?
Yeah, 4 dedicated to peanuts.
Yeah, 4 pages just on peanuts alone. Make sure he chooses food. Oh my God, so funny. All right, and so, hey, here's the last thing I want you to talk about is tell me some of the crazy, just some of the top experiences of your life. Because here's the thing, like, I mean, there was tons of suffering, and just, like, there's no way anyone has never suffered that kind of treatment and bullying in elementary and junior high and high school. They could even imagine how painful that is. Mm-hmm. And maybe even today, even more than ever, because a kid can't sit on the couch and get away from it because now it's on their phone. And just constant barrage of it all. But, so that was painful. But talk about some of the most amazing experiences you've had. Because you've done some cool stuff, man.
Yeah, that's a lot. I think scuba diving with the great white sharks, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, spending 6 weeks studying black rhinos in Africa, skydiving, getting my Class A skydiver license. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Learning how to fly a helicopter.
Crazy. Tell me some of the countries you've been to.
Oh, God. Germany. I've been to Fiji, the Seychelles, Tanzania, South Africa, Chile, Argentina, Peru, Colombia, Mexico. I've been to Japan.
Iceland.
Iceland, yes. They took all my money. It's super expensive there. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Still paying that off.
Yeah.
Italy, Turkey.
Yeah. And then
There's more.
all right, here is and then also I'm just wondering, man, like, because you have some really good friends.
Yeah.
And like people that like deeply love you and like crazy committed, like loyal friendship with you. And like I just wonder if like how that happens. That doesn't happen with me. I don't have any friends. But like I wonder like if like, is it the friendship that you nurtured and cultivated because you didn't have friends, or like how does that, or maybe because of your loyalty to them and how much you invest in the friendship that they invest that back? Like, I wonder you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is I got my first like super super close friends in Alaska, and the bond was because we were all kind of like escaping something,
Yeah,
so we had a lot in common. And then because of that, then we really invested in the friendship because we had finally found like people that we could really connect with. And then when I moved to California, I moved into a household of people who really had to build their families because there's a lot of queer people who their families really shun them. So they are amazing at building friend families, and that was my first encounter with that kind of idea of like choosing the people who are going to be your family, the people who are really going to hold you up and support you. And those are some of the most long, like some of the friendships that have lasted the longest. Like people I can call up today, and they would, you know,
yeah.
take me into their home and put me on their couch, and you know.
Here's here's one of my favorite Veronica stories. I tell people is that I was at a backyard. I think it was a 50 party, like the lady was turning 50 here in the neighborhood, and we're in her backyard, and Ian Moore's playing in her backyard, and her husband spent a fortune. We're having drinks, and my buddy's there, and we're talking about
Oh, I know this story.
we're talking about traveling, and he goes, "Are you going on the road?" I said, "Yeah," and he's asking me, "How do you do that, man?" And I was telling him, and I said, "I have a friend of mine travels with me," and he goes, "Is it a guy?" I said, "No, it's a girl." And he goes, "Oh, your wife lets a girl go out on the road?" I said, "Yeah, man, we're just like in separate hotel rooms, not like and she's super cool. My wife loves her, and we love her, and and her name's Veronica." And he goes, "Stop, wait, what? Who?" I go, "Veronica." He goes, "Describe her to me." And I describe her, and then he describes you physically, and I said, "That sounds like her." And he goes, "Man, I just thought about her the other day." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Man, Veronica used to work for me in my office, and he kills bugs. He's a bug killer. And what do you call that?
Exterminate.
Exterminated, right? Anyway, so and I said, "Well, I go, she used to work today." He goes, "Yeah, we were laughing about her yesterday." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because when she left, before she left, I don't know how many, but we found a lot. She Xeroxed on the copy machine. She made a copy for middle finger." She's giving us the finger, and to this day, we'll open a drawer, and there's a picture of her middle finger. They'll open up a book, because we thought we found them all, but like every few months, we'll lift up a computer to clean it or something, and there's one under the computer. And so we just found. He's telling me all about it. I said, "That's her."
Oh, it was good. I was like, they're gonna be finding these forever.
They still are, man. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think they moved offices. Maybe they may have finally found them all. Who knows? But man, talk about the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, so good. Oh, every time I pull out a client folder, I just boop. I was never made for office work, so I had to like be really creative about like how I entertained myself because like I wanted to be a good employee, but I had to have like an outlet because
Yeah.
sitting at a desk all day.
Not for you.
I loved working for them. They were so nice and like he's a really really awesome dude. But man, like day in and day out answering phones, I was just like, oh my god. File another one. It was like my stress release. Every time I got like really worked up, I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna file some middle fingers.
That's so good. All right, man, you're awesome. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. I think it's really important that just teachers have a reminder of what what life is like for a lot of kids outside of that typical successful student teacher reality. You're awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Hal.
Yeah, you're badass. Give it up. Don't even reach for it.